I'm always doing things last minute.
Alright, what's up everybody? My name is James. Welcome to my channel. This week we have Stage 1 Shimano Find Your Fast. This one is on the route called the Classic. We start out in the pen that's in downtown Watopia. We basically trace the first part of the volcano circuit counterclockwise loop. After we go through the volcano and go down the curvy downhill, we are going to take a right and go out to Jarvis Island. From what I read, Jarvis Island was the first road that was made available in 2014 when Zwift started, and the loop itself contains one climb that lasts about almost 3 minutes or so, and then you descend on the other side, and then you come back around and you do it again.
All right, 0.2 kilometers. We got our first power up already. I'm going to use this on the climb when we get to the island.
The climb itself is relatively shallow. There are a couple spots where it gets up to maybe about 5%, but those sections also don't last very long. But because of that, you can draft the climb. But much like any uphill or climb on Zwift, in a race, it's going to be pretty spicy. The power-ups that are available are the featherweight and the aero helmet, and there are actually 3 different banners each lap. So you are going to get a good number of power-ups. Our race had 12 starters. There were a couple that got shut off pretty immediately. We had a group of 10 or so going into the first lap of Jarvis Island, and then the usual Zwift attrition happens and the group gets smaller and smaller as the race goes on. Okay, 4.1 kilometers into the race, there is a banner here. This one is actually not marked on the mini-map, so just be aware of that. Every banner that you go through, you will get a power-up. I had the feather here, so I decided to keep it. If I had an aero boost, I probably would have popped it right here, just in the hopes that I would get a feather. And with this climb being a little bit more shallow, the aero boost definitely is still helpful, but especially because the featherweight lasts longer than the aero helmet, I feel like the featherweight is better. If I'm wrong about that, you guys can let me know. Alright, I'll let you guys watch this first lap in 3x speed, and then I'll speed up laps 2 and 3 up to 8x, and then we'll come back for the majority of the last lap. The main thing to note overall for this entire race is that we have a smaller field size here, and because there is a climb on this course, in general, we are going to be surging quite a lot. I put in a little bit of effort to push the pace. There were a couple other guys who did the same thing. So yeah, in general, as far as Zwift races go even, this race was a little bit on the harder side. All right, we got 4 kilometers left. We're on the Jarvis KOM for the 4th and final time. If you guys were watching closely, you would have seen that we were surging quite a lot. With only 6 to 8 people in the pack, there's going to be a lot of reshuffling of the riders. Because the pack is a little bit smaller, you're getting less draft in general as well. Luckily, I have a feather here, and I save it for the second half of the climb. I pop the feather right before this steep section here, and because I'm carrying some momentum, I actually just roll through. I'm finding that rolling through, even though you're on the front hitting the wind, I think setting the pace here is not a bad idea. And it's not like I'm setting some sort of pace that I can't sustain. In general, it keeps everybody pushing, and in some ways it feels like I'm keeping the pack at bay. Maybe. I'm not sure if that's true, but let's go with that. Here we have this electric spirit guy. He was probably the most active off the front throughout the entire race. He rolls through and I follow him. There's another guy here, M. Lavery. I'm not sure if this was an indication that these guys were getting a little bit tired, but it seemed like they were surging up ahead and wanted to attack, and then they kind of sat up a little bit. The only reason that I roll through here is simply to not kill my momentum, and I'm just waiting to see what the other people will do. The fastest time that we set up this climb was 2:52 for the Jarvis KOM. That was on the first lap, and then on lap 2 and 3 we took it a little bit easier and we were over 3 minutes. And on this last lap I think we went back under 3 minutes at 2:58. And for me, I averaged somewhere around 4.7 or 4.6 watts per kilo in order to set that time that was under 3 minutes. One note about this course that I think would be really helpful for you guys if you guys are going to do this race later this week. After you do the long section of the climb, there is another kicker that comes up here. I think for all 4 laps in our race, somebody put in some sort of surge or an attack here, and I think that's going to be a common theme throughout the entire week. At least that's what I feel. Yeah, so for us here, you see the pace picks up right before this kicker. M. Lavery and the electric spirit guy put in quite an effort. I was pretty tired and I didn't want to have to cover that by myself. I was pretty certain that these 2 guys, Z. Viney and V. Bayer, were going to chase it down, so I sit back a little bit and hop into their draft. So I get an aero helmet as I go through this banner, and I'm noticing that on the downhill, a couple of these guys are using their aero helmets. I'm deciding to save mine till the sprint, because the feather is pretty useless in the sprint, in my opinion. I feel like I still have to get a hang of going downhill in Zwift, because I constantly feel like I'm moving backwards when I go downhill, unless I'm putting out a good amount of power, at least sometimes. All I'm trying to do is trying to conserve as much energy as possible, trying not to fall too far back, and I think overall I was able to do that decently well. I'm trying to sit in the draft and conserve and trying to recover from the effort that we did on the Jarvis KOM and that kicker. The pace comes down a little bit, for a brief moment at least. I'm able to catch my breath a little. And like we all try to do in the final kilometer of the race, I'm going to be watchful of the other riders. I'm going to try to position myself on a good wheel and then pop off as much power as I can for the sprint.
Come on. Get up. Get up.
What? Took down the win? My new ZRS is 653, which means I can no longer race in range 1. It's only range 2 from here. I guess unless I lose some points. I'm a little bit freaked out that I'm gonna get to 700 and I'll have to race against the advanced elite guys. But either way, it'll be fun, even if I get dropped on every race. But maybe I'll bounce back below 700 and then I'll be able to do range 2 again. But anyway, sorry that this video wasn't super interesting. Hopefully you guys still enjoyed it. One of the things that I did consider was also adding the complete raw footage at normal speed for these races. I don't know if you guys want that or not. You guys can let me know in the comments. But yeah. Oh, last bit of news. Very exciting news for me. I got the Tron bike. And I have no idea which color I like the best so far. So I'm probably going to be changing colors here and there. Maybe make it a daily thing. But yeah, next race I post up, I should be riding the Tron bike. It took me pretty much exactly 2 months to get the Tron bike. I was doing my Zone 2 workouts on Road to Sky or Ventop, and no more climbing those two routes for me anytime soon. Alright, like and subscribe if you would like to. I will see you guys next time. Later. Beep boop.